what has to be improved or where my deficiencies are. I don't expect, and I did this myself, I don't expect anybody to get a perfect evaluation. I did that when I worked for the University of New Hampshire. I sent it in because I didn't believe anybody looked at it. Well, I found out quite quickly that my boss, the higher guy, he does look at it, and I was called on the carpet for it, saying that nobody is perfect, and Sorensen, you're not perfect either. So I know what it is, and we will, it's up for discussion that somehow or other the commissioners need to see those evaluations, maybe just review them. I know we got, 300 employees. I would assume that the evaluations would be done on their anniversary of hire, so that they all don't come in all at once and don't tie everybody down. This is the week we do evaluations, but that they do it whenever their employee comes up for on their anniversary, correct. Okay, another item that we're looking at, the delegation has said that we should take out items that we have no control over. So what we are going to look at is 6 different items that we have very little control over. One is insurance. Insurance for our buildings and for liability. It's jumped up considerably this year. We're going to look at that increase and take that one out. We have no control over it. DEAS, that was mentioned earlier, is up by $700,000. That's the state's responsibility. That they went through their process and said that's what we got to come up with this year for an increase. We should take that out of our budget, out of that 1% increase I'm talking about. Unemployment went up considerably. We're looking at taking that out. Retirement went up considerably. Workers' compensation went up. And you know something, OSSAB taxes, we have no control over OSSAB taxes either. So that should be taken out of the 1%. So when we take out those 6 items, and I don't have those figures in front of me other than that $700,000 for DEAS, when we take that figure out, we should be coming close to 1%, if not lower. Now, that doesn't mean that our tax increase to the taxpayers of Carroll County is going to be 1%. If you recall last year, in order for us to balance the budget, to give people like you that put in the budget request, to make that possible, we had to take out 2 million, what was it, 2 million something? 2,200,000? 2.5 thousand dollars, millions, 2.5 million that has to be made up in this tax year. Okay, whenever we take something to offset our budget, it has to be made up somewhere. Over the years, we've taken 300,000, 500,000, 800. We went up to $1 million last year because of the increases that that you had submitted. We had to take $2.5 million and put towards reducing taxes. That has to be made up. So our anticipation of taxes increase is roughly 17%, Kathy? Yep. 17% increase just to make up that, even if we stay at a 1% level as far as our expenses this year. So, with that said, now you know how difficult it is for us as commissioners to try to put together a budget. We try to do the best we can. We try to be fair as much as possible. And there's still some areas that we need to improve upon. But I guess I'm through with my portion of the presentation, and if any of the other 2 commissioners have any comments, I would welcome them to bring them forward if you wish to.
The only thing I would like to comment on with regard to evaluations, I would like to see peer review as part of the evaluation process.
Okay. Ashley, do you have anything?
The only thing what I want to say, federal employees have a pay freeze for several years.
So,
Just keep that in mind.
okay. Okay. All right, I'd ask for any comments from anybody in the room. I would like to have, this is probably the first time that we've ever done anything like this, to try to explain the budget as much as we can. It's not finalized. We will look at it further after our meeting is over and after we hear from a contract with Cybertron. I would like to hope that we could have a meeting like this again, maybe twice a year, whereby we can all get together and talk about things maybe ahead of time rather than waiting till when things have to be finalized. We had snow dates, we had other things that have happened, and that's why we're a little late in getting our budget in. But our budget has to be in Concord by Thursday of this week. So we've got today to finalize it and put it in. Doesn't mean that's the end of the budget. Delegation can increase it or decrease it, and then they have to set their budget in by the 1st of April. I would also say at this time that we will be putting on, at the request of an OLLI program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the OLLI program. It's for people that are 50 years or older. They pay something like an annual dues of $35 a year, and they can attend courses. It could be anything that's offered, and they may have to pay an extra $5 to take a course. We've been invited to put on a local county government course, and we're going to have 3 sessions. It's going to be in January. It's going to be on Tuesday mornings at 9:30. It hasn't been approved yet, but I think it will be. There'll be 3 Tuesday mornings from 9:30 until 11 o'clock. It will be held at the Tech Center in Conway. If it's successful, I see no reason why we can't offer that same information that we will be presenting up there down in this area, either here at the complex or maybe in Wolfboro. We need to inform the residents of Carroll County what services are available, where their tax dollars are going, because I mentioned that at a subcommittee yesterday, and one of the representatives said, maybe I'll be there. I said, you can come, but I don't want you to take over the meeting. This is for informational purposes, and I think we, as county employees, need to talk with our friends, our neighbors, and explain to them what county government is. We're lacking in information that's given out. Commissioners' meetings, yes, we have Representative Babson, we have the newspaper, we have Ed, and we do have a couple of others that attend. That's great. I may be too lax in opening it up for public input, but I feel that's a benefit to us to help us make better decisions, because it's 3 of us and there may be 6 or 8 out here that have other opportunities or a different way of approaching the issue, and I welcome those kinds of inputs. A lot of other counties don't have that. They may have one session, we have one before and one at the end. So that said, has anybody else got any questions? Good.
We will also be at a exit issues put on by Mount Washington Valley Economic Council, and we will be doing something very similar to that. But at that event, there will be representatives of First District also in speaking.
And that will be in regards to the budget. Yes, Mr. Nash.
Well, all the department and elected officials are here, Mr. Chairman. Going over this budget thing, we have to work with what we spent for 9 months and then either extend it out to figure out what was spent for the year, or do what we do now, which is budget based on what last year's appropriation was, which really has no relevance to what was spent this year. And my question is, wouldn't it be easier to have our fiscal year start the 1st of July so that Kathy can get all her bills in by February, and then you're working and budgeting with what you were actually spent versus what you budgeted. And if that would be helpful to the
There are about 3 counties, maybe
3 or 4 that do it
3
that
or
way.
4 that do it on July 1st. Grafton County is one.
Is there any reason why we can't? And would it be helpful?
Well, we'd have the final figures, no question about that. I think it's a problem of getting slapped with a high tax rate to get that 6 months shifted. And I'm not sure which way it goes, but I know that's was up for discussion over the years, as far as putting a bill in so that Carroll County could be on a July 1 basis. But it's a difference of making up that 6 months, either before or after. I'm not sure how that works out. But I don't see anything. Kathy, as a financial officer, do you see any problems with that?
Well, first of all, we have a calendar year, December 31st. Now you're talking about a calendar year, June 30th. So you're talking about the budget. You still have that period of time. If you're changing to July 1, you still have, when you're doing the budget, you're talking about, you would have the numbers as of December 31st, but now you're talking about a July 1 expenditures. It's still the same. It's just a different month. I mean, it's just a different. Do you know what I'm getting at? I mean,
no, I don't. I don't think we're currently working with either what was spent through 9 months and then apportioning it out. And of course, there's some departments that have big expenses in the fourth quarter. So if you have to do it that way, it's not accurate. You can't get your books done because bills are still coming in until sometime around 1st of February, which is very reasonable. So if we did it if we started the process in March and finished in June, we'd be working with what was actually spent for the previous year.
But that's as of December 31st. Now you're talking about another June, a date of June 30th.
Right. So what is your problem? The 6 months in between that very first year?
There's still that, yeah.
I can't believe that couldn't be overcome. There must be a way to do that.
I mean, we can find out if other counties, how they arrived at getting their July 1, what they went through to do that, or has it always been that way?
Well, if you
and
could
then
do
does
that,
it take
Kath,
legislation on your part?
Right. If you could do that, that would be helpful because it makes more sense to me to budget on what was spent the previous year rather than what was budgeted, which may or may not have been spent or may or may not have been taken and moved around.
And every year is different too.
Pardon me?
Every year is different. I mean,
That's true.
as far as like salaries go, you know, somebody could have been out, there could have been vacancies, that position is there, and you need to budget for it, but, you know, if you go on the actual and there was vacancies, then,
Okay.
you know, there's all those considerations.
Okay, yes, Dan?
You talked about the $2.5 million from surplus that was used to offset taxes for
Last year.
for this past cycle.
Yeah.
Now, every year you spend some, maybe 300,000, 800,000. Why do you have to make up the entire thing this year? You said you have to put it back, and that would increase the taxes 17%. But
the difference we're doing this year is if we put in $2,500,000, what we anticipate having left over in this year's budget, we're putting in $500,000 towards reducing taxes versus the 2.5. Okay. But somewhere or other, it has to be made up.
the entire the 2 million,
Yeah.
the entire thing.
Yes.
Dave, you said there were 6 things you were going to
Yep.
exclude from the budget. Building insurance, DEAS, unemployment, workman's comp, OSB taxes, the other one fuel?
Retirement.
Retirement, okay.
A lot of those jumped up tremendously. We're getting bids in for health insurance, and that's a sore subject. Representative McConkey is heading up a subcommittee on insurance.